Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I have a character here that I am a huge fan of, Huron Blackheart, after reading Lord of the Maelstrom, and I just decided that I thought the miniature was like a little small, so I'm going to try and turn Abaddon the Despoiler into Huron Blackheart. So I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do it. The only thing is that the Talon of Horus, I'm thought maybe that it would work. So have a look at the sprues there. See, it's all fine cast. This is my first video to do like this now, so I hope this is all coming out okay. He's pretty distinct looking character, and I just think we can get some of the components of that onto Abaddon the Despoiler, and like the claw there. I think the claw on Abaddon is a lot more impressive than the claw on Huron, so we'll try and work with that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes along. I had originally planned to put the melted gunner from a Contemptor Dreadnought into the hand, but it just wouldn't fit. So I just going to put the basic body together for Abaddon, and yeah, I did no real modifications to this, just straightforward. So just make sure it's all glued together, and when I was happy with it, I just started to move on to the Huron model himself. So I'm just going to clip out the main body of Huron. As I say, I love the miniature, and I love the backstory that goes with him and the lore. That's why I just felt that I had painted this miniature some time ago when it was a metal miniature, and just the detail on it is incredible. All those bionics on his right hand side. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get the head off it, because roughly the heads, even though the body is bigger, the heads are the same size. Now I do apologise for the focus here. So I was going to get a knife, but the resin is just a little hard cut with a knife. So I'm just going to try and very carefully cut the head off the miniature, and then we will trim it around it then with the knife afterwards to get a good fit. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut the neck off Abaddon as well, and I have my Huron head here. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to try it in there to see, and as you can see, it fits perfectly on there. Looks fine. So I'm just going to put a dollop of super glue on it, and come along and stick that head on. Now, just be mindful of the direction the head is looking, because you don't want it to look like you've deliberately just sort of planked a head on there. So I clipped out some of the armor, so that when you put the Terminator armor together, it actually does look like he's looking out of the hood of the armor down at the claw. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll just put that aside and leave it to dry, and we'll move on to the next part of the project. So for the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start working on the robotics running up. As you can see, where the chest plate is cracked, and Abaddon's chest plate is not cracked, so we're going to work that. So I took a hobby drill, the large bit, and just drill down into the body. As you can see, I also attached the loincloth, or the tabard, or whatever we call it, to the miniature, and just drill in there, because we're going to start putting in some cabling to run up through the torso. Now, for this, I am using bass guitar strings. You can use regular guitar strings. I went with bass guitar strings because there are ones that I had there, and just they're a heavier string, and they've got a bit more of the wind on them, the nickel wound steel, and just use pliers to get a bit of shape on them, just that they'll fit in nice and neat on the body. Because when we cut the chest piece, we don't want them to get in the way. And just take your time working them in there. See how they'll hold up. You can see I'm kind of pretty happy with that now. So what we'll do is we'll just cut it to length. And you will need a pliers or a snips for these because they're incredibly tough strings. And you will just make bits of your plastic snips. Now, I'm sorry I'm a bit off camera there. I was so busy looking at the super glue that I wasn't watching where my hands were. So I'm just going to come along, get the tweezers, because I've got sort of sausage fingers for things like this. And pick up our little bit of wire and just make sure it's the way you want it to be. And we're just going to put it in the hole there, like so. And we got the second one, and we're going to stick it in the hole as well. Just like that. And once you're happy with them, they don't look much now, but don't worry, when they're in there and they're dry, and you got the rest of the chest built around them and the cut to see them peeking through, they'll look fine. Okay, so we'll start looking at the chest piece now, and to see where we want to cut it to let those cables through. Remember, we only get sort of one chance at this now, so this is where you just need to be a little bit more careful. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a snip, the plastic cutters, and I'm also going to use a knife. So I just start by gradually just weakening the plastic, and then I just come in with my knife and just cut into it then, and start cutting that, because I really want to maintain that piece that runs around at the arm as well. I didn't want to lose that, but all the while been mindful of getting a good sized crack up the chest plate without cutting my finger and giving myself an injury. But so we're having a look there, and as you can see, we could go a little bit more. Let's go a bit deeper with that cut, and we'll see how it looks then. So we'll just keep cutting in. Again, just be really, really careful. Be mindful of the plastic, because it's starting to get pretty brittle as you're cutting that away. Again, come in with the knife, and then we'll just cut out of it what we had in it, just like that. Again, being super careful, not cutting towards your fingers like me. Get that chest plate opened up there. So there we have it done, and as you can see the cabling in through it there, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. And I glued the back onto the armor as well, because I just leaves it easier. I also added a bit of cabling in around the neck, because I wasn't happy with how the head was sitting on the torso, so I just added a little bit of cabling in there as well, and it did the trick. Okay, so now I've glued the rest of the legs together, starting to come together. Now, the chest, I didn't want just a plain bare chest, so I want the skull of this cabling, so I'm just going to snip off these. But there's also one part that I want that's going to run out to the arm to provide power, I suppose, to the tyrant's claw, as we're calling it now. It's no longer the talon of Horus. So we'll just very carefully snip these off, right in there. And once you've got that snipped off, we'll get our little knife, and we're going to clean up the edges of that skull, and we'll when we have it all nice and clean, we'll attach it to the chest. I had originally thought about maybe milliputting that hole in the chest, but I think this will just add a bit more of a feature to the front of the chest. So there, now we're just cleaning off the cabling. Now this was like super tough, because it's very delicate plastic, it's very brittle, and I didn't want to cut up the holes that I also wanted to keep to glue on to the chest. So I just focus my camera there. So as you can see, we've got it trimmed up. So we're just going to add some plastic glue to the ends of the cable and the piece that goes onto the chest. Oh, and this is like super small. It kept wanting to fall on me. It was horrific. So keep it in the tweezers. And we're just going to plank it on here to the chest and line it up with the cable on the arm. Like so. And that is pretty much it. So there we have the cabling, and as you can see the way it runs across the crack in the chest. I was actually pretty happy with the way that turned out. I hadn't really sort of planned for that, so that was sort of a happy accident. So once you're happy with that, we'll come along, we'll glue the skull onto the middle of the chest, and it'll just sort of bring a bit more to that as well. So again, we'll just pick it up. I just was using the tweezers. You don't have to use the tweezers. It's just, for me, I find that a little bit easier. So we stick the skull on there as well. And there we go. So now we've got the whole torso done. He's looking Huronish. And let's move on to the claw. Okay, so the next step I actually forgot was down on the back of his leg on the miniature. There's extensive battle damage, and it was only afterwards that I had the legs put together that I realised this. So I drilled out the back of the thigh. Then I took my knife to it. Then I came along with more guitar string. And we're going to just drop guitar string into the piece that we cut out. And as you can see, it provides a nice sort of battle damaged bionic-y looking opening on the back of his leg. Then he's got these bottles and vials and little pouches hanging off his belt. And I didn't want to let them go either, because I thought they were sort of like a, part of the character that you just don't know where he has gotten these from and what's in them. So very carefully, we cut them off the miniature. I'm actually thinking more of the miniature than my own fingers when I'm doing this, as you can see. We just get in there. Once we've been clipped off, clean them up, and we're going to just glue them on to the that Chaos Star huge belt buckle on his belt. And there we are with them attached. And it just gives them that little bit more. I did try and cut some of the runes off the loincloth, but it wasn't happening. So now we'll finally move on to the claw. So as you can see, the claw was, towards facing up, whereas I wanted more facing out with the melta gun in the middle to or a flamer. I can't remember, is it a flamer or a melta gun, to pointing forward that will be ready to vaporize enemies. So we're just going to clip away bits of the arm here. This is really trial and error. You just have to keep sort of trimming and cutting and trimming and cutting and filing and just dry fitting it. Dry fitting, when you're doing something like this, it's so important to dry fit. Even the head, like I stuck the head on with some white tack before I glued it, just to make sure that I was happy with how it was looking. Make sure you do that, doing a conversion like that, because otherwise you will end up doing something that just does not look right. So we just keep trying out the hand, seeing how it looks, and have we got enough of a point on the arm to glue it on. So I'm happy with that. So now we're going to come along and we are going to put the flamer melta thing into the palm. Again, I'm coming along with my big drill bit, and just in the very center of the hand, I'm going to drill it out. Now I'm actually going to take the barrel of the gun off the original Tyrant's Claw and stick it on, because like the one I had planned to use is just way too big for the claw. It just is not going to look right. So we're just going to have to, make some design changes on the fly. So we'll drill it out, and then we very carefully come along with our knife and just clean up around the barrel. There are a few little gates there, is that what we call them? Coming up just to for them from the molding process. So just make sure it's clean of all resin gates and mold lines. And then very carefully just slice it off the hand and you'll get a nice clean cut there. Just like that. There it is. So now we're going to come along and again grab it with the little tweezers because this little thing is just so small and it will fit perfect. Made for it. Look at that. Great job. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. So I'm going to come along now again with my super glue. Don't judge me for using Green Stuff World. I know they've been a bit controversial lately, but it's the only super glue I could get one day. And I wanted something quick drying, and that's quick drying super glue. So we'll there with the barrel of the gun stuck into the hand. And when you're happy with how it's looking, I just came along now and we've got the thumb here as well. So we're just going to clean that up as well and stick that onto the hand as well. So that just goes on to the side. A little bit of plastic glue on there. As you can see, I'm doing all of this out of my paint case 2.0. This is like one of the best things I've ever bought. I had been using the GW with Project Box, but this is by far better. The amount of stuff that I fit into this is just insane. So we've got the hand done, and now we're going to come along and just attach the tyrant's claw to the body, and we're well on the way to actually getting this miniature finished. So again, just line it up, make sure you're happy with the fit and how it's looking, because now that the barrel is on there in the palm of the hand, it may look different. So it's important just to try that again. But I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. So we'll come along and we will just glue it on there. And just try and keep it raised a little bit, looking like it's pointing forward. Just line it up there. There it is. As you can see, it like it was made for it. So now we're going to look at the axe. So the axe that comes with them, again, it's a little small. So I am going to raid the new Chaos Space Marine kit for an axe, and I'm going to remove the spike off the back of the axe. And on the back of the original axe, he's got an iron halo that he actually took from a Space Marine captain, I believe, that he killed. And I wanted to put an iron halo on there as well. So just clean up the axe. And when you're happy with how it's look, I did come along and I put some cuts in the blade just to give it sort of a battle damaged, worn look. And it's really up to you how worn and battle damaged you want to make it. You may not want to do it at all. But yeah, I just came along and just let myself, you'll know yourself as you're doing it, how it's looking. Just compare it to the two. See another bit out there as well. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. And compare it to the original. And here's the Iron Halo. So the only Iron Halo I had is off that Space Marine Captain kit that the Primaris one that I believe I got with the Imperium magazine. Partworks. So we just very carefully cut it off the top of the backpack. If you use a good knife or a good sharp blade, it will cut off pretty easily. Minimum filing required. Just give it a little rub of the file just to flatten it out. And we'll just add a little dot of plastic glue to the back of it. And we'll Just stick it on there. Now with the plastic glue, you just need to sort of like hold it just for a second and it should stick okay. And we've got to make sure it's straight. That's so important. There's nothing worse than finding out something that you've stuck on is actually crooked. So now I wanted to try and get the that arch spikes from his backpack, and use them on the miniature. So I had to glue on the shoulder pads first, and obviously I had to remove the Eye of Horus from one of them. So I just carefully cut it off and sanded it down, and come along. And it was when I had it done, I realized it's not going to work. It's not going to look right. So I didn't want to do it, but I didn't really have a choice, and I had to use the trophy mount that came with the Abaddon miniature. But look, the heel of the hunt, it looked okay when I take the Eye of Horus off it. It's fine. Okay, so we bring in the trophy mount here, and as you can see, the Eye of Horus, it's just there underneath the middle spike. We put it on there, like, you can't argue it. It is pretty impressive looking. I would have liked to not have had to use it, but there just was no way out. I did think about cutting the rack off and mounting this on top, but it just wouldn't have looked right. So you just got to go with it. So you just add a little dot of blue to the top here. It's actually a great miniature to put together. It's so well made. I couldn't fault it. It was a joy to put together. It was nice to do this sort of a thing as well, because it's been so long since I've actually sort of customized a mini. And like that is the all part of the hobby as well. That it's just letting your imagination run wild. So there you go. Here's the finished Huron Blackheart, and with a few minor alterations to the Abaddon figure, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So now I've added some more guitar string to the back of the arm, just to give it a bit more cabling to add to the bionics. And it does come with a battery pack for the Talon of Horus. I think it's to power the bolters on the back of the hand. But I've decided that I'm going to use this to power the meltagun, almost like plasma coils in a plasma gun. So it's just to get it looking right and getting the cabling bent into shape on it, because the connection is so small. It did break on me, but look, we'll just be really careful with the wire. Get it bent around into shape there, and try and get a natural looking bend on it, because that is so important. You don't want something that's going to look, I know it's a Space Marine, there's nothing natural about it, but you don't want, like, we know what wire looks like in a loop, so you want something that's going to look looped naturally. Otherwise it's just not going to, it's there will just be complete disbelief. It's like going to be, oh, you just stuck that on there. So it's little things like that bring a bit of natural flow to something otherwise unnatural. You just work the wire. Don't go too panicked with it. Be really careful as well working with guitar string. Sometimes they have a tendency to whip around, and just watch your eyes. And if you're cutting off small bits, be really careful, because it can fly. So just be mindful of that. Again, as I say, like, bass guitar string especially, it's like, it's pretty tough. So I'm just going to change my my drill bit to a smaller drill to put in the other piece of wire, because it was a slightly smaller piece of wire that I'm using this time. So you just tighten it up in the vise. Again, we come along, just drill in there into the elbow beside the first one. Just be careful of the hand. The hand was not fully dry when I started this, and I did actually break it off. So I just drill it in there. And we apply a small bit of pressure on the drill as we're doing it, and it'll drill out fine for you. And that looks good. So now we'll come along with our other little cable. Try it out there. Now we'll super glue it up. As you can see, it did break on me. This is the bit I was talking about, where it actually snapped out of the little canister. And I had the canister glued to his back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to glue both ends of the cable into where I want it to go. Try and get this in camera as well as I can, just for you to see it. And that's it done. And there he is, glued to his base. Huron Blackheart, Lord of the Maelstrom, the Tyrant of Badab, all done and dusted. Very enjoyable to do. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you like the videos, make sure you subscribe for more.